Good morning. We're going to do a live stream this morning, probably for about an hour or so. There's a lot of international basketball games going on, and I think there's a really good opportunity for us to make a little bit of money on some over-under bets. This is our disclaimer. Please stop the stream and read it for a moment. I'll read out the last paragraph. We are neither licensed nor authorized to provide any investing, trading, wagering, and/or betting advice whatsoever. All of the information contained within this broadcast is provided for entertainment purposes only. By subscribing to any of our alerts, notices, and/or signals, you confirm that you understand that it is possible to lose some or all of your money when investing in any sports markets, and you further acknowledge that you cannot hold Signals, that's us, liable or responsible for any such losses. We are Signals. This is how you can reach us, our email and our Twitter account. You're on our live YouTube channel right now that I just started a few days ago. We're going to be doing some over-under betting. We're going to use Bet365 as our platform. If you've been watching, you know what we do. And I'm sharing this screen with you so that I can keep you informed on what we're looking at. Meanwhile, I'm on the other screen and my phone, using all three to look for potential opportunities. Anytime you hear silence, it's just because I'm looking at all of the various games and looking for opportunities. Looking at a game quickly here. A lot of opportunities today, so we'll just have to be patient, pick and choose. Looking at this one right here. And specifically, I'm looking at the, so make sure I have the sound effects off. Looking at the third quarter. Maybe an opportunity here. Okay, so I'm looking at our parallel computer here working, and the algorithm is running, and it looks like it might generate a signal here. Looking at the signal strength, this is a 3/4 unit play, so 3/4 of a unit, 0.75 units, and we're looking at 38.5, over 38.5, over 38.5 if we can get it. Over 38.5 on this particular game right here, over 38.5. Let's see if we can get that. There's 38.5. I'm trying to get it right now. Hopefully you have it. I still haven't been confirmed. And I didn't get it. So I'm not in at 38.5. I did not get 38.5. 38.5 was there momentarily. I didn't get it. Let's see if we can still get in here at 38.5. Looking for 38.5. The number's 38.5. Almost had it. Didn't get it. And this one looks like it may have slipped away from us, which is unfortunate. Had 38.5 briefly. We'll see if it comes back up. We're 1 point off. Be quick on the trigger here. I'm going to try it again if it comes up. Okay, there's 38.5. Trying it again. Doesn't pay very much, only paying 1.71. I didn't get it. Didn't get it. Closed out again. That was it, I'm sure. We have 24 seconds. It looks like there's probably a foul on the play. So we're gonna have to be patient because there's a lot of games today, and we're not going to chase. We're just going to be we're going to be patient. We're going to do what we do. We're going to generate signals using our algorithm, and when that signal's generated, we certainly have an edge at that moment in time over the book. We're not going to squander that edge by chasing. So remember the two major tenets of trading. It's discipline and execution. The algorithm will take care of the discipline part. We're not going to do anything until we have a signal. The execution is all on each and every one of us as individual traders. We have to do everything we can to execute the trading plan according to our signals. So long stoppage in play here. Happens a lot with international basketball games. They often have a hard time keeping up with the live game. Right now, as you can see, 40.5 is available. You can take that, and who knows? I mean, they could come back showing that an extra 4 points were scored. Anything can happen in international basketball, but for our purposes, 38.5 was our signal. We had it. May come up again. Here we go live again. Going to drop down to 39.5 quickly. At the 210 mark, we may be lucky and get 38.5, but it's not looking like it. No, they just go. Okay, so this game's gone. Let's quickly move away from this game and find another opportunity. Unfortunate, but happens all the time. It's a half unit play coming up here. If I can get it. Well, no, I'm not going to call this one out. It was strictly a half unit play, and the time went by too quickly for anyone to get in on this. In terms of what online books, what we do can work with, depends where you're located. If you're in North America, I know a lot of people have had success with Bovada. We don't have an account with Bovada, but I know some people have had success with that. I believe there's Sports Interaction. I think Bodog. I think Bet365 is a good one. There are many sports books that offer it. If you're a Bitcoin trader, I know Betcoin.ag is actually very good. Their platform is a bit dated, but they are really good with their deposits and their withdrawals, and they do provide most of these games as well. So if you're a Bitcoin trader, I'd recommend that one. Just getting back to what we're doing. So when there's silence again, I'm just looking through the games. I've got two computers running. I've got the one where I'm sharing the screen that you can see right now. That's the one I'll indicate which bets we're looking at. I've got another computer right beside it that runs everything parallel, except that it's also running the algorithm in the background, which is where I get my signals from. We developed the algorithm in-house. Did over 3 years of developing and back testing, so we've got it optimized. Presently, anyway, for current sportsbook conditions, as you may know, sportsbooks are changing. what they do and how they develop their lines for every sport that they offer constantly to try and keep ahead of us. And it's our job to try and stay current and get an edge over them whenever we can. Isn't very often, but when you do, you want to jump in and take that trade. So like I said, I've got 3 devices going. I've got the computer that I'm sharing. I've got the other computer that runs the algorithm and all the parameters that I'm looking at. And then I've got my phone. The reason I've got my phone is I place all of my trades via the phone because I don't know about an iPhone. I use an Android device, but with an Android, you don't have to go through the cumbersome process of accepting the changes when the line changes and then entering your amount and placing bet. It's all done with one click, so it's very, very fast, faster than a computer. And that's why I trade strictly with the phone. But I've got 2 computers running from which to do all the work. And for anyone who's, I don't know if anyone's watching, but if anyone's watching this live, what we do is we generate over-under lines, almost always over. Unders are very infrequent, almost always overs, and only in respect of Q2, so first half, and Q3. Q1, the algorithm doesn't have enough data from which to discern all the trends and find a statistical advantage for us. So that's why there are no Q1 bets. And Q4, if you know anything about international basketball and sports betting, you'll know that the books change their lines arbitrarily for Q4. Varies almost daily, but very rare for us to find an edge in Q4, Q2. So a first half bet and a Q3 bet, those are relatively stable in terms of what the sports books do with them. So we try to zone in on those. Again, I'm just looking through the games here. I'll update the screen that we're looking at as soon as I see something with some potential. We'll get on it and we'll start looking at it. Might have started the stream a little early by from 11 to 1 on a Tuesday. There should be a ton of games. There were a lot earlier this morning that we were trading here in house, and it just looked like there were going to be many more. So we jumped on and thought we'd do a quick stream. We'll see if we can get something. If we don't get anything in the next little bit, we'll probably just take a break, come back on. Not seeing anything at the moment because the internals aren't really showing anything that makes it worthwhile to take the bet, which is why the algorithm doesn't generate a signal. There are a lot of there aren't a lot, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 11 games either in Q2 or about to start Q3. So there's some games to look at. Again, we'll just exercise some patience here and some discipline, and we'll wait for an opportunity to come to us. That's the beauty behind the live trading. If you're a handicapper or someone who bets pre-game, I mean, I have all the respect in the world for what it is that these people do, and it's a very, very difficult thing to handicap, particularly when you consider that you're using historical data. You've got no idea what's happening the day of, let alone moments before the game starts, and yet you've had to go out on a limb and make your analysis and indicate what your picks are. Live betting, we get the benefit of seeing what's happening, pace of play, scoring, missed shots, fouls, you name free throw percentage. Just so many different indicators that you look at, and it all goes into the algorithm, and the algorithm is constantly updating and computing what's going on. And at some point in time, there will be a game where we will have a statistical advantage, and that's the one we're going to jump on. It doesn't mean, of course, that it'll be a winner. It just means that at that particular time, you did have an edge over the sports book, and if everything that the algorithm has identified were to continue, or in our case, improve, you'd be a winner. So that's what we're counting on. It's all we do here, so we count on that each and every day. Whether you're doing this recreationally or doing it as we are as a business, you really should have a set system and a set process that you follow, and regardless of what your results are on a daily basis, if long term you've back tested your system and your processes, and you understand that long term you are profitable, you shouldn't jump around looking for the holy grail. You should stick with your system, and over time it should pay off. We're doing these streams because we believe in our system, and we're hoping that over time we'll get the opportunity to display our services and hopefully make some people some money, and then eventually get into a paying service. But we're all free right now. It's all good. Looking for opportunities. The two Germany games are just not even midway through the second quarter yet, but those are getting slightly interesting. The scoring disparity is never a good thing, though. I don't know. Like I said before, we're a black box. We don't really give away what we're doing here for obvious reasons. And well, I shouldn't say obvious reasons. The reason is not to keep anything away from our viewers or our subscribers. That's not the intent at all. The reason is to keep the information away from the various sports books. We've been hacked in the past. Not actually hacked, but attempted hacking. And we've also had some instances where people have tried to reverse engineer what it is we're doing. And when I say people, I mean sports books. I don't mean just individuals. And the reason you'd want to do that is because you want to take away whatever the edge is. Sports books are always looking at your trades, tracking what you're doing, and if they see a pattern, particularly a consistent, successful pattern, they look into it and they try to take away that edge as quickly as they can. Yeah, so the two Bundesliga games, nothing generated just yet. A couple of Slovenia games. Nothing that's gonna yield a signal just yet. Yep, interesting Slovenia games. We may get an opportunity there in a couple of minutes. We'll see. Looking at an Israeli National League game that was also in the third quarter. This one right here, but the internals are not strong enough to indicate a likelihood of success on a trade. So we're going to ignore it, even though if you're on the outside looking in, you'd say, well, it's in the second quarter. You know, there's some action going on. Isn't that a signal? It isn't, and let's remain patient. Didn't go back to that game where we had the 38.5 and then it didn't get it off. I mean, it looked like it was an obvious winner. Hate to stick with the game and rub it in when we had an opportunity and didn't get it. You could drive yourself crazy doing stuff like that. So once the opportunity is missed, it's just best to move on and assume that had you gotten it, you'd have been right along, which is a moral victory, if nothing else. I'm on the other computer and I'm looking at the Slovenia games. They're there. There's three of them. Well, two left in Q2 that are in the window in terms of time frame. See if they can generate a signal. Nothing yet. The Coupe de France game is also right in that area where we could potentially get something, but there's nothing there just yet. So again, all the downtime, please feel free to do whatever it is you're doing besides this. Just stay alert. I'll give as much notice as possible to prepare for an impending trade if and when the opportunity comes up. So we're going to start paying closer attention to the Alba Berlin game in the German Bundesliga. We have an interest in this one. Nothing yet, but we have an interest in this one. So it's going to be a first half bet. It's going to be an over bet. You can see right now the over is 87.5. Again, you're not going to see me place the bet on the screen that I share. It's too cumbersome. It'll strictly be done on my mobile device for reasons that I've already explained. Not sure if we're going to get a signal here, but let's track it and see. A lot of these games on Bet365 and on other online sports books, you can watch a lot of these more important international basketball games live on your computer. We don't do that because it's of no benefit or value to us algorithmically. We strictly relied on the internal indicators and all the various statistics. If anything, watching a game live can do a couple of things. It can distract you from what it is you're really looking for, and it can also create a psychological bias that you may not be aware of. You all of a sudden become attached to a particular a particular position because of what you're seeing, or a particular perception, or if you're listening to announcers and you're listening to commentators, same sort of thing can happen. So nothing going on here. I've got to take quick a quick break here to deal with an email that I've got to respond to, but this isn't going to yield a signal, I don't think. Well, we'll stick with it, but then I'm going to take a quick break and see if I can just take quick take care of something in house here for a second. The screen will still be shared, and I'll be back momentarily. If we don't get if let's see if we can get this one off though, because we're actually close to getting a signal, although the signal is going to be quite a bit lower than what the current over number is. So I just don't know how that's going to work for us. So okay, we do have a signal, and it is for a full 1 unit play, and it would be over 82.5. So we're looking at over 82.5 on this particular game. Over 82.5, if you can get it, take that bet. Don't know if that number is going to come up. Like I said, we're a bit off from where we need to be. Okay, so the it's over 82.5. That's the call. Let's see if we get it. I do have to take a quick break, but let's get back and see if we get this bet. Okay, I'm back. Obviously, the 82.5 came up here, and they just quit scoring. It's pretty crazy. So there's next to zero opportunity for this one to actually pay off. But we'll follow it to the end. See what happens. But I don't believe 82.5 is going to be our a winning ticket for us. While we're watching that, I'm going to continue looking for another opportunity. This one here came up for all the wrong reasons. We actually backed into this trade as opposed to catching it on the offensive, rather than our signal being generated based on extended scoring and adjusting our lines upwards until the algorithm generated a signal. This one here, the signal was generated because the scoring just literally dried up, and it came into that sweet spot where the algorithm generates a signal, and if there's some scoring that resumes, it's a really good chance that you'll get your over. We actually have a somewhat of an opportunity. We have a slight opportunity to get this back. We're at 81 with a foul. So there is a slight opportunity here that we could actually get this. This is I encourage everyone to rewatch this video. I was away, so there'll be nothing but you'll have silence to look at for the longest time, because I had to go away and deal with something. But I encourage everyone to go back and look at this video. When 82.5 came up as a number, we had a statistical edge at that point, and we took it. It's an interesting it's an interesting example of what can happen. We then watched about a minute with no scoring, and or even more than a minute, and it didn't end up. Nothing ended up happening, and then eventually they started scoring like crazy in the last minute, and they ended up scoring 82.5. So if you had 82.5, it's a loser. I did see it. I did see 81.5, 80.5, 79.5, and even 78.5. I'll post our trade. We had 80.5, 80.5 on a full unit. I'll post the result of that one. So that's a winner. For us, we did call it though at 82.5, and they only did score 82. So if you took 82.5, unfortunately that wasn't a winner. 81.5, 80.5, 79.5, 78.5 came up. As I said, we took 80.5. Only reason I got 80.5 is, as I said, I was away from the computer momentarily, and when I came back, 80.5 was the opportunity showing, so I took it then. Anyway, let's move on to another game. So this one is a winner for some. It was a winner for us, and as I said, I'll post it on the Twitter account. It was a loser on the outright signal though of 82.5. We had a great opportunity to get that 82.5, despite the weird scoring that was going on, because there were 2 free throws with 9 seconds left, and unfortunately, only one was made. Still, great to know that we're right where we need to be in terms of the sweet spot with the algorithm, particularly because 82.5 came up. And as I said, for the next minute and probably 20 seconds, a minute and 20 seconds, there were no points that went up on the board. That's a statistical anomaly, and if the game had reverted back to the mean just a little bit earlier, we'd have been fine. I mean, we were one free throw away from covering in any event. And for those of you who aren't used to over-unders and live over-unders in particular, you'll often lose by half a point. You'll often win by half a point. So never take it personal. Never say, "Oh, that was a bad beat. They can't hit free throw." It has nothing. It has no bearing whatsoever. The algorithm calculates so many different factors that go into generating a signal. If you look at one particular second or one particular play or a missed shot or a made shot to determine whether or not you're going to be successful, it'll drive you crazy, and that's not what the algorithm's all about anyway. It's the overall tendency of a particular game that the algorithm tracks. We'll lose plenty by half a point. We'll win plenty by half a point. That's irrelevant. The only thing that matters is, are we winning more than we're losing, and are we demonstrating that to our viewers and subscribers, and are we providing a service and a value added that you find useful and are willing to subscribe to long term. So I'm still looking at some games. Looking at these Israeli games. The Maccabi game is interesting. Right here. No signal just yet, but it's an interesting game. A lot of games going into halftime at this point. Both the German games have gone into halftime. So probably be a lull here for a bit. All right, so let's. This one's not particularly thrilling. Let's look at another game. In the Israeli Super League, let's look at the game below. This one here. Q3. Interesting game. Looking at the over. 36.5 is the number now. Let's see if we generate a quick signal. So right now, the signal that just got generated is a fairly weak signal. It's only a half a unit. So let's see if we can move it up, and let's see if we can get a stronger signal from the algorithm and try and get a playoff here. Scoring very quickly, so things are evolving rapidly here. So we'll see, but that can be a very good thing, because when the scoring starts to pick up, sometimes we can get a very quick playoff. No whistles. The time's going by very quickly. They are continuing the score, and we are not getting a revised signal on this one. So it doesn't look like there's going to be a play. Full minute and a half went by. Just getting a whistle now. Probably a foul on the play. It is, in fact, a foul. So over 36 and a half. Over 36 and a half would be a full unit play. Over 36 and a half. Probably not. Well, now they've just scored, so that takes this one away. Obviously, 36 and a half is going to be scored in the half, but it's not good. It's not of any benefit to us because we're not going to get that line. So let's move on. A really high scoring game that I'm looking at here. It's the only game that the algorithm is focused on right now because none of the other games are where they need to be. This one right here, Hopsy versus Rogaska. So calling this one up. It's the third quarter. It's a third quarter bet. Pretty crazy scoring for an international basketball game. Basically 20 points in the first 3 minutes. That's it's not a pace that that can likely be maintained. But 21 points in 3 minutes, that's pretty crazy. You're looking at a 60-point quarter, which in international basketball, if you do this a lot, is rarely seen. Rarely seen. First half was high scoring though, and it is the game is still close enough that there is incentive for both teams to run up and down like rabbits and put up as many as they can. So there is some interest in this game for that reason. Okay, signal is generated by the algorithm. It is a full unit play. And it is going to be 50 and a half, over 50 and a half. Over 50 and a half is what we're looking for. See if there's a little bit of, let's see if there's a little bit of a lull and this game comes back to us. And of course, the algorithm has generated a signal at 50 and a half. It doesn't stop working. So let's just see. if and when it generates an updated signal. A lot of the internal numbers have to change and recycle through before it'll give an updated signal. Oftentimes you're just better to stick with your initial signal and go with that. Although the scoring here is relentless. See if we get another signal. Signal still 50.5, no changes. 50.5 is the signal. Obviously, this game is well above that number in terms of the sportsbook's posted line. However, the algorithm tells us that they are not scoring at a pace that's any higher than 50.5. So if you took 50.5 and you chased on the basis that in the first half of the quarter they scored 30 or 32 even it was, you're actually chasing because statistically the algorithm tells us that they're not scoring at a pace that can maintain that scoring, and you won't end up at 60 or 60 plus points by the end of the quarter. So that's the whole basis behind the algorithm, is not to get into a situation where you're chasing a line based on what you perceive, because perception is very subjective. What you see, what you think you see, is influenced by your psychology, by your internal habitual thinking, and that's what we're trying to get away from here. You want to be as objective as possible, which is what the algorithm provides. $50.5. Over 50.5 is the number, and we'll take it if we can get it. As we can see, the pace of play has slowed down. There was 32 scored in the first 5 minutes, possible 64-point quarter. NBA-like numbers for international basketball, absolutely unheard of and more than likely unsustainable. Algorithm knows that. The book tries to entice you to take a higher number than is warranted, which is why they're posting a higher number. The reason they post the number on the upside as opposed to the downside is basically the reason behind our algorithm. Basketball, if you think about it, continues to evolve tremendously. Viewership around the world is increasing every year and every month, it seems. And so the incentive for the game is to score a lot of points. Nobody's interested in watching a basketball game where it's all defense. So for that reason, the over is always the safe play, and the sports book knows that, which is why they put a number that's higher than a reasonable over total, trying to get as many people to take the under as possible. We lose some bets, so obviously it is the under sometimes, but for the most part, scoring patterns clearly favor the over. Still 50, the number, by the way. It hasn't moved. 50.5. We're going to make this sports book work for its. We're working for our money, but we're not going to let this slide. We're getting real close to 50.5 here. So if we can get 50.5, we'll take it. We're just getting into that spot where they've got the sportsbook's got to drop its number to a realistic number, and a number that could give us a statistical edge. So we'll see if we get it. Okay, so we just got an update on the signal. It's 52.5, over 52.5, over 525, over 52.5. If we get that, we'll take it. Over 52.5. And well, we were just about to get it. It got down to 53.5, and but they scored. Or perhaps not. Maybe the basket will not count because it looks like no, it looks like there was a foul before the shot. Who knows? If you look over here, it was 53.5. Now it's 55.5. It looks like they did score they did count the basket. We were that close to getting in at 52.5 because it was down to 53.5. It looked like. Now it doesn't know what it's doing. Yeah, so they're gonna post 55.5. 52.5 is going to be tough. Never know. We have a chance. 52.5. 53. If they don't score in the next 8 seconds, I'd say at the 220 mark, we have a chance. 220 mark. Here it comes. Everybody be ready. Pull that trigger. There it is. Looking for 52.5. I'm confirmed at 52.5. So we are in this bet at 52.5. So that's 133. We need 144, I believe, on the score at the end of the third quarter. Let's see what happens. It came back to us as if you've watched this, and we've watched this entire quarter. We followed the process through, so you can see what happened. Statistically, in the first half of the quarter, it looked like they were going to score 60 plus points. That was never realistic, and so but the sportsbook had a higher total than what seemed possible to obtain based on what the algorithm was saying. So what we did was we backed into this one. We let the sportsbook lower its number until it matched with the algorithm signal, which dictated the scoring pace. The algorithm originally dictated a 50.5 over signal. We know that the line never got to 50.5. It was too ambitious a total to get down to. The sportsbook was just never going to give us that. So what we ended up with instead was the algorithm constantly doing its calculations, and we had a revised upward number of 52.5. If you followed this trade live, and if you're watching it as a recorded trade, go back and watch the video very closely, very carefully, and pay attention to the screen, and look at the over under total right here, and see that it never went below 52.5, and in fact it went to 52.5 for a matter of a few seconds, a few very, very quick seconds. And so that was, you had to be very, very quick to jump on this one to get that number of 52.5. And that gave you your only opportunity to take an over in this particular quarter. Ironically, the scoring has stopped quite dramatically, so it doesn't look like it's going to be successful. But if you follow the logic, and if you follow the quarter, you'll see that it was impossible to get anything lower than 52.5. And if you were betting the under, the pace of play and the indicators would have dictated that was going to be a very, very difficult opportunity for you. So the over was clearly the play here, and we'll see if we get rewarded for our patience. We watched the entire quarter. We followed it. We followed everything closely. We probably had 3 to 5 seconds in terms of the opportunity to place the bet. We took it. We have it live, and we can post that result on Twitter as well. So we've got one before that we took that was successful. We're in another one here. We're either going to be 1-1 or we're going to get this one. And we didn't get it. It was interesting because there were 33 seconds left in the third quarter, and they didn't score. We were at 50. Really, really good chance of getting there, and we didn't get there. So we are now 1-1. Unfortunate. So we're going to see if there's anything else on that we can watch. A couple of Italy regional U20 games. I speak about those all the time because they're interesting to watch, but the scoring is just so unreliable. You never know what you're going to get. So when you do get a signal, it's not our preferred action, that's for sure. But we do occasionally take those bets when there's nothing else going on. We're never in two games. I'll go back to the main screen, by the way. This one's been up long enough. Doesn't have to get any more painful than it was. We lost that one. We're never in two bets at one time. We like to watch the outcome and see exactly what happened for a number of reasons. Your money management is critical, and if you get ahead of yourself, assuming a loss or assuming a win, and you get into another play, it changes and it affects your money management, and that's never a prudent course of action for any business. And so we don't do that. We miss out obviously on plays as a result of that, but we also benefit from situations that we assumed were one way and actually turned out another, and would have impacted negatively our money management strategies. So one game at a time. If you're looking for multiple games during our live betting sessions, you won't find them. Been on for roughly an hour or so. Like to finish 2-1. Like to take one more and then call it. Maybe join back in later, but do have other things to do today. And our time is always more valuable than our money, unless you're you're wagering several $1,000s per game. I would argue that your time is much more valuable than the money. So let's be efficient. Let's track these games. Let's find an opportunity, take it, and move on. A really interesting game here. I'll pull it up. It's been a long time since we've looked at anything. I'm tracking everything, but there just hasn't been anything. If we look at the Coupe de France, the Monaco Limoges game, it's in the third quarter. It's in our sweet spot. Very interesting as we can see. Over half the quarter has been played. Almost no scoring. Scoring is non-existent. We may get a signal on this one. Gosh, it's just so difficult to psychologically convince yourself to take something when you're witnessing no scoring whatsoever. But we'll see what we have. Statistically, this is a 3/4 unit play. It's a 3/4 unit play, and the number is 23.5. It's over 23.5. We're looking at over 23.5. Seems ridiculous. Seems unlikely to get down to that number, but boy, they haven't scored very much, and so I think when we first looked at it was at 26, so it's back to 26 now. Number's 23.5 though, not 26. See if that number adjusts. It could adjust. We could quite easily get a second signal from the algorithm, just based on the fact that there's been no scoring. So the internals are very, very weak. Obviously, this market is in an oversold condition, and so you could see a situation where a signal's generated and it's revised up. So our signal's 23.5, over 23.5. And as you can see, they've adjusted the time as well, and that happens in international basketball all the time. Sportsbook tries to stay ahead of what's going on, and in fact projects and forecasts things so that it protects itself. But anyway, the time had been down to 4:06. They put it back up to 4:10 before the free throws. So all kinds of adjustments occur, and so the numbers have to occur move as well. So revised signal 25.5. We're good at 25.5. Over 25.5. Over 25.5. Very good chance that we'll get this one. Over 25.5. Very good chance that we'll get this trade-off. Gosh, psychologically, it's a killer, though, because you can't imagine that they're going to score those points. But nevertheless, that's the signal, over 25.5. We'll see where we get. And because they're starting to score a little bit, again, the algorithm could generate another signal, because there was literally no scoring for 2/3 of the quarter, and all of a sudden now the scoring is picked up. So we'll see if we at 25.5. Let's not chase. 25.5. 25.5. Don't chase. Let this one come to you. If it doesn't, we'll move on. 25.5. There's 26. We had I don't know if any of you saw that. If you look back at the recorded video, 26.5 came up for a split second, and then they hit a basket and were fouled. So the line went up immediately, 3 points. We'll watch this one. See if we can get it off. So we've got an updated signal here. So we can take 27.5, over 27.5. No more than that, over 27.5. I would say it's extremely unlikely that we'll get this off. You may see 27.5. You may. Here it comes, 27.5 if they don't score. There's 27.5. I'm taking over 27.5, over 27.5. Nope, didn't get it. It moved to 29.5. That's not the number. 29.5 is not the number to chase. It's available right now. Do not take it. 29.5 is the number on the assumption of the 2 free throws being scored. That's what the sportsbook does. We have 27.5 on the assumption that pace of play scoring continues on the pace that the algorithm has identified, not on the basis of whether or not these free throws are made. The algorithm doesn't care about a 12-second period in the game. It cares about the overall trends and establishes a pattern on that. Still could get 27.5. Here we go. Very close. Very, very close. And the number's gone. 28.5. Didn't get it. Almost got 27.5. We have to move on. They're already at 22, so they did 27.5, 6 more points in 145, 146, another stoppage, more fouls. Probably 27.5. We probably missed that one by a second or so, a couple of times. I would we can come back and take a look at the score, but I would venture to say that one's going to work, but we don't have it, so it's inconsequential to us. Let's move on. All right, we've got back to the Bundesliga. We'll look at the sorry, pressing the wrong number. A new game came up. The British Basketball League. Those are high-scoring games. A lot of good games there. In any event, let's look at this second Bundesliga game. Looking at Q3, and looking at a strictly a half-unit play, though. Strictly a half-unit play on this one. And the book is anticipating a lot more points than the algorithm projects. So no signal just yet. We'll watch it because it's in that timeline where it could yield a signal for us, but it's not looking. It's not looking likely. So half a unit only. Algorithms just put up 36.5. That's a very, very low total in comparison with what the sportsbook's showing. We're going to need a revised algorithmic signal to bridge that gap, or literally no scoring for the next minute or so. And if that were the case, the algorithm would probably adjust its signal in any event. $36.5 is the number. Over 36.5. It's a weak signal. It's a half unit. Over 36.5. We'll see where we're at. We'll watch this one, and if we don't get this one, I'm going to take a short 5-minute break. Got a couple of things to do. I'll let the stream run, and I will come back on. May edit the stream later, or just leave it as is. But we're 1-1. As I said, some people may have not gotten the first one. And the second one we missed by half a point, which is typical when we do lose. But we're going to watch this one through. It's 37.5 now. 37.5 is the number. 37.5. 37.5. 37.5. Okay. There we go. See if we can get 37.5. Number's 37.5, no higher. if we don't get this one, we're going to, as I said, take a short break. We'll still be on, but we'll be watching. We'll be back shortly. $37.5. Yeah, there's not much scoring going on here. This is not at all in keeping. Well, and then as we say that, they hit a 3, so that's 42.5. Yeah, I'm going to take a short break. This game isn't going to yield a signal that we'd be interested in taking. So I'm going to take a short break, and I will be back in a few minutes. Hopefully the mic's working. We're back. I'll be on for another 10 minutes. 11:30 Pacific, probably max. Let's see if we can get one more. 1-1. A lot of games coming on from now till 1:30, but unfortunately, also lots to do here. So let's see if there's anything at all. Just getting up to speed. I wasn't looking at any of the computers for the last 5 minutes. Just going to get up to speed, see if there's anything at all that interests us. Mm. A lot of games have moved into Q4. A lot of games coming online, but they're not where we need them to be to generate a signal. Um, So the only one we really have potential for in the next few minutes. It's going to take some time to develop, so we need patience. But it's the BioPharm game right here, Polish game. Again, it's going to be the over, and it's going to be the Q3 number. They're scoring at obviously a healthy clip here. Um, typical Polish League Two game. You can expect in this type of game, you usually get fewer fouls, more points, but it could give us an opportunity here. We'll see. Algorithm will let us know if there's anything there. If you're following along on your platform, below that there's an Italy Series 3 game. 4 minutes before half, there's zero. I can say there's a zero potential for that game to yield a signal. So ignore that game. What else is in Q3, Q2? All right. The BioPharm game is it's up on our screen. It's still a lot of time, and the scoring is still pretty frantic. It's a pretty good pace. Looking at close to a 50-point quarter on the pace of play now. That's above the pace of play of the game so far. Yeah, the Italy Series C, I just went back to take a look at it again just because the timeline was right, but the internals are not right. They're all wrong. There's no signal there. The Italy regional U20 teams, there's a game there also not going to yield a signal. Platform just went crazy there on my screen share. I didn't do a thing. It just it just decided to reload itself. Still interested in this game. There's still a lot of time to go. So let's not be too quick to give up on it. It's got it's still our best potential right now in terms of a signal. Looking at a couple Coupe de France games too, but they don't look as promising. Not as promising. So Mexico game going on as well. Now Mexico is interesting because they're basically four leagues that score the most. You've got obviously the NBA scores the most. Then you've got the Australia League, which put up a ton of points. You've got China, which scores a ton of points, and you've got the Mexican League. Those are the four leagues that score the most points in international basketball. So this Chinese game, Chinese. I was talking about the China League. This Mexican game is interesting as well. So I'm also watching that. I've got both those games up on the computer that runs the algorithm. I don't have them up. The algorithm it has them. It lists the game based on most likelihood of generating a signal. So this BioFarm game is number one. The second game though on the list is the Mexican game. So I'm watching both. Just seeing where we end up on that game. I'd say both games have equal chances of yielding a signal at this point. So we'll have to see. So those are the two games we're watching. Then I will take a break. I may stream. I may come back and stream later. I'll post that on Twitter if I do stream. A little bit of a scattered session today. We got busy with a few other things. I'll post the two bets that I did take. First one was a winner. Second one lost. So 1-1, not losing much, not making anything though. The other thing is, of course, it's irrelevant what I post, what we take and what we make. It's what we're able to have viewers and subscribers take and report back on winnings. Our profitability is irrelevant to what it is our viewers or subscribers do. Never base your decision to follow or fade or subscribe to anybody else's services, regardless of what they put up, whether it's verified, not verified. Doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, it's your it's your ability to profit that matters. For example, there are many unscrupulous services that will take literally every possible bet out there for small amounts, and then they'll pick and choose more winners than losers, post those as what they took, and ignore the other ones, which then makes them appear to be statistically profitable and a worthwhile system to follow, when in actuality that may not exactly be the case. So just saying, well, we're big fans of good karma, law of attraction, all that stuff. So look for positive energy, look for positive feeling, someone you resonate with, and you feel you have some commonalities, some traits that you see in them, that you see in yourself, and that you like in yourself, and usually you'll end up aligning yourself with, if you're focused on that, you'll end up aligning yourself with someone who's appropriate for you. So the BioFarm game is close. So's the Mexican game. So watching both. Looking at the Biofarm, hoping for a signal. $43.5, over 43.5 is the signal. Just generated now. Of course, I just score. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. See if it revises upwards. Scoring now like they're scoring like crazy. Only one extra basket made, really, and that hasn't. You presume we're going to go to over 45.5 on the signal, but we haven't gone so yet. So we're still at 43.5. There's a stoppage in play though, but presumably. No, still nothing. Okay, so revised numbers over 36.5. Sorry, 46.5 over 46.5 over 46.5. And this will be the last game I've got to go after this. 46.5. 46.5. Still adjust. They're scoring a lot now, so let's see if we adjust. For some reason, the clock didn't move. There we go. Live play. Yeah, number's 46.5. Lots of scoring. Going to have to adjust. $49.5 over 49.5 over 49.5. We can see we're chasing here. The algorithm, all of the indicators, of course, it's all historical data. So we are trailing the live game by a few seconds. That can't be helped, of course. But when they score 3 or 4 baskets inside of a minute, it really challenges everyone's ability to statistically prognosticate quickly. Okay, the algorithm is showing over 49.5. I don't know if I said 50.5, but it's showing 49.5 right now. 49.5. And the mail is here. Dog is happy. Okay, here goes our time ticking down. Let's look for 49.5. Okay, so they scored again. That's not going to happen. We're already at 53. Lots of action in this game. $51.5 over 5.1.5 over 5.1.5 over 5.1.5. And let's let this one go. It didn't happen. Boy, we followed it a long time. That's unfortunate. the pace of scoring was too quick for the signal that the algorithm was generating to ever come into play. It just the pace of play just got really, really quick. Mexican game is a few seconds. We can look at that one. But there it is right here. Scoring is what makes this game uninteresting, and the reason why we're not going to take it. 51-30. The Mexican League generally has a tendency to score and run up the score, but when you've got a 21-point lead, it's not inconceivable that you could have a situation where the team that's way ahead could choose to hold the ball in the last minute and not try to score all that aggressively, which would revise the numbers downwards. And we don't want to get in a situation where we were in a situation where we had a statistical edge over the book based on the over number, but the actual circumstances or characteristics of the game as being played are such that the teams change their pace of play because of the score. So that's another tip that I'll put out there that you should pay attention to when you're doing over unders. It happens quite frequently. So we didn't take that one because of that. And that's what the algorithm keeps that in mind. We have all kinds of various parameters in there which are designed to weigh all of the indicators and assign them certain values, and that's it's based on those values that we come up with our signals. So a lot of games coming on. I'm going to take a break. May come back in an hour or so and stream. We'll let you know. In the interim, we had a 1-in-1 day. Tough to walk away when there's so many games. I was hoping to provide a little better value than I was able to, which is disappointing for me. Looking at this Vichy game again, the thing that makes this game uninteresting is the score, not so much the over number. That's not the issue. It's the score. And so we're gonna walk away. Best to walk away at 1-in-1 and see if we do come back. I'll post those games on Twitter, the ones that we did take, so that there's some accountability as to what went on during the stream. And that's it. We'll try to get another time. Thanks.